It's live now. Yeah. I'm just gonna leave it like this. So. Yeah, printed up like 60 something pages to pass out there. I thought you printed 60 something pages to pass out.
Oh, what, this?
I don't know.
Oh, no, I was like, that's all I didn't know what you was talking about. A few more.
Real quick, has everyone been sent in? If you have not, please come see me.
Oh, this might be it. I should pass it over here. No problem.
Good afternoon. We want to be conscious of your time. I'm your moderator. I'm Olga Pittman. I'm with DBHDD. I'm a CYI program specialist. And I'm going to yield the floor to our presenter, Ms. Collins. Make sure you turn your phones off and just a pre-announcement. Whatever you brought in, please take it back out when we leave. Okay? Ms. Collins.
Good afternoon, everyone. How is everyone doing? Good, good. How have you all been enjoying the conference so far? Good, good. Okay. So before we go ahead and get started with our presentation, because I do want to be mindful of the time because we only have a short time and I like to talk. So I want to go ahead and get a few pleasantries out the way. Ms. Olga has passed around some of the flyers that are from my agency that gives a little bit of information about who I am. Also it has information on my contact, has information on services, and also my email address if you all would like to reach out, or if you have some clients that may be in need of services, okay? And then the next thing you have that you see right here on the screen is what's called our Let's Talk Wednesday. I do have a paper that's at the back that if it's something that you all are interested in doing, or having your organization featured, you can also fill that out as well. But our Let's Talk Wednesday is something that our agency came up with January of this year. And it's where we allow different businesses, organizations, or agencies to be featured on a Facebook Live. And what you do is you talk to the community for about 20 minutes or so, and you give them information on your resources and also on the services that you have to provide. Now, the reason why I started doing this Let's Talk Wednesday was because I go to a lot of community events. And at these community events, there's so many different services that I don't even know, and I'm in the network and I'm also in the field. And so I thought instead of always trying to get the community to come to us, we can go to the community and meet them where they are. So we have done last week, matter of fact, we featured DFACS, which is the Cab Access Resource Center in Stone Mountain, Georgia. We've done MAC, we've done Northside Hospital, we've done Abundant Living, which does free screenings for people that are predisposed to diabetes. We've also done DEMA, which is the DeKalb Emergency Management Agency. And again, you all, our goal is to spread education, but also awareness to the services that are offered to our community, because a lot of times they don't know what's offered to them. They don't know that there are services that are available. So if this is something that you would like your organization to be a part of, please go ahead and scan this QR code right here. But there's also a form in the back where you can just put your name, your email, and your contact information if you would like to be a part of that as well. Also, I have a role-playing game at the end of this presentation, and I need about 15 volunteers. And this role-playing game is basically going to be about you collaborating but communicating with a stakeholder. As you know, this is called Integrated Care Programs. It's for Uniting Stronger Families. And I wanted to see if you all had what it takes to be able to communicate your passions in order to persuade a stakeholder to become a part of your agency. So I do need about 15 volunteers. I need 3 judges, and then I need about 3 groups of 4. So if you all would like to volunteer, please raise your hand, and then I'll pass out the information so that you all can be a part of that as well.
That's 2, we need 13 more.
Gotcha. Okay, and do you want to be a presenter or do you want to be a judge? Does it matter? Okay. All right, raise your hands high so I can see you. The first 3 people that you see. These 2. And the next people, you can be those and then the judge. All right, you all, so we're going to go ahead and move forward and get started. And if you all have any questions, definitely please hold that to the end, because I do want to make sure that we're able to get through the slide, and I will answer every question. If I don't know it, I'll definitely tell you that I don't know it. But again, just hold it to the end for me. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So today we are doing a presentation that's called United Systems for Stronger Families Integrated Care Programs. And the reason why I picked this topic to be able to speak to you all was because something that I see in helping professions is that we always have issues sometimes when it comes to communicating, whether it is us trying to onboard new clients or communicating with each other through email. And I felt like if we don't know how to communicate with each other, it will always be an issue when it comes to collaboration. And if we can't collaborate, then it will affect the families and the clients that we serve. And so a little bit more information about me. My name is Noshini Collins. My name is Noshini Collins, and I am the CEO and family advocate of the G.R.A.C.E agency, where we advocate for families that have child welfare cases. We also help fathers gain paternal rights to their children through legitimation, and we also connect families to local community resources. So just a little bit about my background. I worked for the Department of Family and Children's Services for over 7 years. I worked in DeKalb County, and then I ended my career with them in Spalding County in 2021. And one of the things that I saw with working with the Department of Family and Children Services was a lot of our families had a hard time accepting that they needed help. Whether it was services that were mandated for them to be put in, depending on the type of case, or it was just us trying to work with them to make sure that their family got what they need. And one of the things that I realized and spoke with the families about was, number one, they felt like we lacked respect for them. They felt like it was always a power dynamic when it came to assessing them. They felt like a lot of families have a stigma where we just want to take their kids, we wanted to be in their business, and not really understanding that we wanted to help them. And then the second issue that I found was that a lot of families felt like we did not show them compassion. We came into their lives at their most vulnerable moment, but they felt like we did not understand what they were going through. Sometimes, as a case manager and a supervisor, when I'm assessing families, one of the things that I had to do, it might seem small, but it was take off my badge. And I took off my badge because they had to see that I was a woman just like them, or that I was a mother just like them, and that I also went home after 6 o'clock and cooked dinner and took care of kids and burnt out from work. And so what I wanted them to see was that even though they were going through circumstances that weren't the best, that they still deserve respect and compassion just like all of us wanted. So that is how the G.R.A.C.E agency came up. And also right here, you all, here's my contact information if you all have any questions, but also it's still on the flyer as well. Okay, so the services that we do offer case management services, and those services are specifically for any families that have child welfare cases. We assess all defects cases. I don't care if it's foster care or adoption. We are an advocate for those families as well. Also, we have our family court services. Now, what I mentioned to you before is that we do help fathers gain paternal rights to their children through legitimation, but that's not all that we do. We also help and assist with court petitions. So that's contempt, that's paternity, that's modification of child support, and modification of custody and visitation as well. Now, we do not represent anyone in court, but if our client is looking to be represented, we do give them free or low-cost options that they can utilize and do consultations with attorneys or lawyers. And then also we have our advocacy and support service as well. So we don't just talk to our clients and support them over the phone, but we also attend court hearings, family team meetings, mediation sessions, and any other sessions or hearings that the family may need support. And also something that we're doing as well is we partner with the parental accountability courts. We are partnered with the Tallapoosa district. We're also partnered with the Mountain district. And what we're doing, a new service that we're doing is we're bringing education and awareness to fathers that are looking to getting rights over their children, but they really don't know the difference. A lot of fathers have said, well, I signed the birth certificate and I feel like I should be able to see my child, not knowing that the birth certificate is literally just a financial liability as to what they have to do for that child. They don't technically have to be the child's father, and it does not give them any rights. And a lot of fathers don't know that. They don't know about the putative registry system. They also don't know about paternity acknowledgement. And so what we do is we educate the fathers on the differences of those, and then we give them the option to pursue whichever way that they would like to. So our mission is to demonstrate God's grace through our service to the community. As I said before, a lot of families felt slighted because they felt like at their most vulnerable times, we were coming in and judging them for things that they didn't know that they needed help from. This had been a way of life. They grew up in this system, they grew up with this environment, and it was something that was normal to them until a professional comes to them and says, hey, it's not normal for your child to be late 70 days out of the year. It's not normal for your child to come to school ungroomed or unbathed, because you didn't get up in time in order to take care of them. These are not normal things. And so what our mission is just to show families grace. Does every family have to move like we do, especially for those of us that have higher education or was raised differently? They don't. But they need education on why some of the choices that they're making are not the best. And they don't need to be judged. And so our mission really is to just show grace to these families and not just throw services at them, right? We want to educate them about why these things are wrong in some ways that we could work with them in the skill sets that they have, right? They don't have to get up at 6 a.m. in the morning and, sing to the birds and get out for work, but they do have to make sure that they get the children to bed at a decent time, maybe before 10 o'clock, so they can get themselves in the bed so that they can get up and take care of their children. So that is our mission. It's just to show grace and show up for these families every single day, just as if we were in the same situation we would want someone to do for us. All right, so again, you all, this is for Let's Talk Wednesday. Sign the form that is coming around if that's something that you want your organization to be a part of. All right, so today we're going to have 3 learning objectives. Our first learning objective is we're going to discuss the roles and responsibilities of 3 key stakeholders in an integrated system of care approach. We're going to understand how collaboration in ISC enhances care coordination for the elderly, fathers, and families. And then we're going to demonstrate the ability to identify strategies, assess the integrated approach, and communicate findings to stakeholders. Now, the third one, you all, I want you all to pay attention to that one because that's where we're going to do our role-playing assignment a little bit later in this presentation. Now, for someone tell me, what does integrated system of care mean to you? What do you know that it means? All right, I'm going to call on someone. Say it again.
Collaboration between different agencies that provide different treatments and services for the continuum of care for the child.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I want you to tell me, or somebody else that knows, why is it important for us to be able to collaborate amongst each other when it comes to the care for families and children? Go ahead.
One agency can't do it all.
Absolutely. Go ahead.
It's like more efficient for agencies, avoids duplication of services, but also more efficient and easier for a family too, to not have to go to 2 places for the same thing.
Absolutely. Did you want to do?
Maybe I can just say, working together. It might just get done a little bit faster than just taking it all.
Absolutely. And that is the reason why I had a real passion to be able to teach this subject to you all today. Is because sometimes I see that a lot of our families or clients suffer because we lack collaboration. Right? Sometimes we get caught up on titles and we get caught up in, did you have that attitude when you sent that email to me? At the end of the day, it's not about how you feel or I feel. It's about, can we make sure that this family has a positive experience when they're coming to our organization? Because a lot of times these families leave with a nasty taste in their mouth just based off of their experience with us. So we might have treated 1 million families over 10 years, but all it takes is 100 to say, no, we're not going to that place. Now, because you know what, the last time I went there, 10 years ago, but the last time I went there, they talked to me nasty, they had me waiting in line, no one could help me, and so I don't think you should go there. And believe it or not, some people won't go and seek the help that they need because of an experience of someone else, even though they didn't have that experience themselves. And so that's why I want to talk with you all about collaboration, where we need to learn how we can get better together so that we can be able to serve our community the right way. So the professional definition is an approach that coordinates services and resources across agencies to address the holistic needs of individuals and communities. It aims to provide seamless and efficient care by integrating physical and mental health, social services, and justice system interventions. The key components of ISC are these 3. It is coordination, communication, and collaboration. So today we're going to be discussing 3 targeted populations, right? There are many different populations out there, different sets of people, but I wanted to discuss these 3. The first one was elderly caregivers. And so you all can read these statistics up here, but I'm going to sum it up. So basically, there was a report that came out that said that elderly caregivers are suffering at an exponential amount from a lack of care coordination, right? It's very poor. And then they were saying that also some of these elderly caregivers were going to different providers that were telling them different things and causing confusion. And then to compound that, also the caregivers are having a lack of family support and services. So not only were these elderly caregivers going out and trying to seek medical interventions for themselves, but they also did not have the help of maybe some younger family that can help them navigate technology, that can help them navigate phones and portals, right? So that is our first targeted population. And I do want to bring up another dynamic that I found alarming. In the department, when I was working there, we had an alarming amount of elderly caregivers over the age of 70 having to be placement options for children, young children. And one of the things that we had to assess was their mental health and their medical health, right? Because you're over the age of 70, how can you take care of a 2-year-old? You could be suffering from some type of chronic illness. You could also be suffering from a lack of medical resources, which, compounds the chronic illnesses that you have, but also you can have untreated mental health. And so I felt like if all we have is a 70, 80-year-old to take care of these children, then something is going wrong when it comes to the parents. Something is going wrong when it comes to family support if the next of kin that we have is 80 years old. So that is why we also have them as a target population. The second one, we have our fathers. 67.6% of fathers are not legitimized. And again, that's because of lack of education. They don't have any clue that there are so many different options that they can have as a father to gain rights. But let me tell you one of the dynamics that I've been seeing lately with some of my fathers is that fathers feel like if they stop paying child support, then they will be able to see their child because they signed a birth certificate. And I have to let the fathers know all the time that that monthly payment that you're supposed to make, it still rolls in. Whether the mother lets you see the child or not, you have to do something about it legally in order to change that status. And then our third targeted population was our familial systems. And one of the things that I started recognizing as well is that our family systems aren't just made of mothers, fathers, and 2 children and a dog anymore. It's auntie, uncle, and them. It is a family relative that has absolutely no relation, that has been with the family for 20 years, that's a father figure in the home that helps to pay bills. Our family systems now are extended. And I learned that a lot of times our families have, even though resources are out there, they're having issues when it comes to transportation. They lack being able to get to these resources and services, which compounds the situation of housing instability, food insecurities, right? We have so many food pantries. Churches are doing it every Wednesday, church down the street. But how do you get to these resources when you have a newborn, you have a 3-year-old, and it's 2 miles from your house, but you can't get food and the resources that you need because of lack of transportation? And what I ended up finding out was that a lot of people think that if you are in a low-income neighborhood that you have access because MARTA transit is readily available. But what I found out is that that is not true, that there are disparities for race, and there's also disparities for income and employment, because most of the times a low-income neighborhood, their employment opportunities are a lot further. So in order for them to get to where they need to, they can't be directly in that neighborhood. And if they start suffering from transportation issues, what happens is if they can't get to their jobs, it leads to them not being able to pay their bills. It leads to them not being able to feed their children. But if they can't get to their jobs, how can they get to the resources that they need to be able to get back on their feet to do so? Okay, so we're going to discuss the roles and responsibilities. The 3 key stakeholders that I have picked is the Department of Public Health, the Department of Juvenile Justice, and the Department of Human Services. Now, when I was doing this presentation, the reason why I wanted us to understand the roles and responsibility of the stakeholders that are in our community is because at the end of the day, as health professionals, a lot of our stakeholders, our agencies, and our organizations end up crossing each other, right? Where we might get a case where, law enforcement had to go pick up a mother, or a mother just got kicked out of her home and now she's in need of food. And we're thinking that maybe law enforcement could take her somewhere down the street, take her to safety, and law enforcement is like, no, we actually cannot transport. They have to stay here. And then a case manager might have to come out, or maybe someone from an organization might have to assist these families. And we don't know that. And so there's a lot of red tape that happens when we're trying to treat families, because somebody's hands is tied over here, which is tying another organization's hands over here. Now, what was interesting, and I'm gonna tell you all a personal story, is that we received a case on sexual abuse and domestic violence. And when I was looking at a particular father's records, what I found out is that this father was a sex offender. And he could not be within 100 feet of a playground, of a school, of a library, or anywhere that children were. But he was living in a home with 4 children, 3 girls and 1 boy. Now, mind you, none of these children in the home were his. They were his girlfriend's children. They were not married. So I'm contacting law enforcement. I'm like, oh, we got to take these children out of the home because he's a sex offender. We got his whole, history. And the law enforcement said, okay, well, let me go ahead and look up if they have any bond conditions. Looked up the bond conditions, and the bond conditions were only that he could not be within 100 feet of a playground, of a school, or a library. And I'm talking to the law enforcement officer, I'm saying, yeah, but he's 0 feet from 4 children in the home. And they're like, well, that's not in the bond conditions. I'm like, so he can remain in the home with these children, but you telling me that if he was to walk to the school that's down the street, y'all can come and arrest him? And they're like, yep, absolutely. And so for me, I had to really find out, wait, even law enforcement has red tape. They also have things that they can't do. Because I think that if it's criminal, they should be able to do everything. Yeah, go ahead and arrest them. We're going to take these kids, but that's not how it works. And so we really need to understand the roles and responsibility of each stakeholder so that we know where we can go and get our help from. Okay, so the role of the public health agency focuses on promoting and protecting the health of populations through prevention, education, and health promotion initiatives. So public health, I go to a lot of events, and they always have like wellness events. They have events where they are helping when it comes to diabetic screenings, or it comes to giving education on prostate cancer, anything that is about giving COVID testing. So that is a role where they are supposed to go out and be able to find out where is the area that is suffering from the most disparities in the community, and then offer them services. So our next department is the role of the Department of Justice, which plays a key role in the legal and justice aspects of care coordination, particularly for individuals involved in the justice system or at risk of involvement. And so their responsibility is to make sure that they reduce the risk of low-risk individuals, and the ones that have high risk, that they are to have them in programs, right? Whether it's substance abuse, whether it is drug screenings, whether it is job training and employment, whatever causes them to get reincarnated, they are supposed to try to reduce the risk of that. All right, it says the role of the Department of Human Services focuses on social services and support systems to meet the needs of vulnerable populations, including families, children, and individuals with disabilities. So the biggest department that I know of when it comes to human services, of course, is DFAT. And what they do is they provide all different types of services. They're not just child welfare based, but they provide all different types of services, from food stamps to TANF, for child care assistance. I just did a Let's Talk Wednesday with someone from the DeKalb Access and Resource Center, and they were telling me that they also provide food pantry assistance, clothing closets. They also have information on utility and financial assistance that they give every single month. So now we know what the roles and responsibilities are of those three key stakeholders. We're going to talk about successful collaborations of the integrated system of care program. Now, has anyone in here heard of the community action teams at all? You have? Okay, what have you heard about them and what they do?
I just heard the name.
Oh, you just heard the name. Okay, has anybody heard any more information about a community action team? Okay. So what a community action team is, I would liken it to a Kaiser for behavioral and mental health, where they have everyone that is central to what a child would need in order to help them with their mental health. So they have, now this program is new. They started in these regions 1, 2, and 12. They started on last year. And what they do is they provide a holistic approach to not only treat behavioral health in children, but to also make sure that they strengthen the dynamics of the family as well. And so on board, they have mental health clinicians, they have psychiatrists, psychologists on board. They also have social service staff as well, where they'll have a supervisor, they'll have a case manager. And basically, it's just a family-centered approach in which the CAC team helps parents and caregivers in obtaining services and support as well as aid with referrals. Now, the two positive things that has happened from the community action team was they reduced out-of-home placements for children that have serious behavioral health conditions. One of the things that happens with children that are suffering from behavioral health conditions, a lot of times is that you have to have a certain amount of behavioral health inpatient situations before somebody would take it. You can't just say, okay, well, my child, they have a history of hearing voices, they're not taking their medication, they're violent, I need to drop them to youth villages, or I need to drop them off to somewhere else. You can't do that. There's specific criteria that amounts to a child having to reduce that in the home. And one of those children is being able to pay their child support. Their license further allow them not to pay child support for